Billy Bob Thornton says yes to something, you stop and ask why. This is a man who's built a career dodging the obvious, refusing the easy, and walking away from Hollywood's biggest offers without blinking. So when he quietly stepped into Landman, Taylor Sheridan's high-stakes oil drama, it wasn't just casting, it was a calculated move by one of film's most enigmatic figures. What made this project different? What did Thornton see in Landman that he didn't see in countless other scripts with flashier headlines? Today, we crack open that decision, the career-defining pivot that has fans, critics, and insiders talking. Why he almost turned his back on Hollywood. Billy Bob Thornton's legacy in Hollywood may seem etched in stone now, but there was a moment when that entire trajectory nearly vanished. Long before stepping into Taylor Sheridan's oil-soaked world of Landman, Thornton found himself disillusioned with the very industry that once embraced him. Frustrated by creative limitations, the suffocating studio system, and a Hollywood machine more obsessed with box office than storytelling, he quietly began distancing himself, choosing instead to chase raw, character-driven material, even if it meant stepping out of the spotlight. Thornton didn't just want to act, he wanted truth, and Hollywood wasn't offering much of it. What followed was a kind of artistic rebellion. Thornton dabbled in music, leaned into writing, and avoided cookie-cutter roles with the defiant energy of someone who had nothing to lose. But it wasn't retreat, it was strategy. He waited quietly and patiently for roles that resonated with his own rhythm. That's why when Taylor Sheridan came knocking with Landman, a series drenched in grit, realism, and moral complexity, it didn't just pull Thornton back in, it ignited the spark he'd been holding onto all along. Ironically, Thornton's near exit from Hollywood may be exactly what made his return so powerful. He didn't come back for the fame, he came back for something real. Sheridan offered him a world that didn't require reinvention, only authenticity. And for an actor who's always been more outlaw poet than polished star, Landman is less of a comeback and more of a collision course with destiny. From Sling Blade to oil fields, Thornton's career reinvention. Billy Bob Thornton's journey from Sling Blade to Landman is more than a career. It's a transformation rooted in reinvention without compromise. When Sling Blade exploded onto the indie scene in the 90s, it stamped Thornton as a serious force, a screenwriter, director, and actor with a taste for the unconventional. But instead of riding that wave into predictable Oscar bait roles, Thornton zigzagged through Hollywood with a defiant unpredictability. Comedies, thrillers, prestige dramas, he did them all, but never in a straight line. And now, with Landman, he's shifted again, this time into a role that feels like a culmination of everything he's ever been. While most actors fade into formulas, Thornton evolved into something sharper, a modern-day storyteller with dirt under his nails. He's spent decades avoiding roles that scream leading man in favor of ones that whisper something darker. And Landman isn't a departure from that, it's a distillation of it. The oil fields of West Texas are unforgiving, morally murky, and brutally honest, just like the worlds Thornton thrives in. This isn't just another role, it's terrain built for the kind of work he's always wanted to do, just waiting for the right creator to hand him the keys. What makes this reinvention so compelling is that it's not really a reinvention at all, it's a return. Thornton has always circled stories about power, loss, and the human fault line beneath ambition. Sheridan simply gave him the perfect landscape to go digging. And as Landman drills into deeper themes of greed, legacy, and survival, Thornton doesn't just play a character, he becomes a vessel for the very storytelling that made him a legend in the first place. The Sheridan Magnet. Why A-list actors keep coming back. Taylor Sheridan has become Hollywood's gravitational force, an author whose scripts pull in A-listers not out of obligation but obsession. From Kevin Costner to Nicole Kidman to Billy Bob Thornton, there's a common thread. Actors with nothing left to prove, willingly stepping into Sheridan's rugged, morally complicated worlds. Why? Because he gives them something the system rarely does. Roles that bite, stories that bleed, and dialogue that dares to say something. Sheridan's projects aren't just shows, they're character gauntlets, and the biggest names in the industry are lining up for the challenge. Sheridan doesn't write for stardom, he writes for depth. And in doing so, he taps into something primal for actors who've spent years suffocating under studio-safe scripts. His characters are broken, brutal, and often stuck between loyalty and survival. That's the goldmine for serious talent. It's why you'll find Oscar winners and household names tucked into scenes beside newcomers with dirt on their boots, because Sheridan doesn't build prestige vehicles, he builds pressure cookers. And for performers craving reinvention, that pressure is irresistible. What's more fascinating is the loyalty. These aren't one-off gigs. Sheridan's universe keeps expanding, and so does his circle of repeat collaborators. It's not just that actors want in, it's that they don't want out. He's created the rarest thing in Hollywood, a creative environment where risk is welcomed and depth is required. And for the A-list, that's no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. How his role in Goliath may have paved the way for Landman. Before Billy Bob Thornton ever stepped foot into the oil-soaked world of Landman, he was already laying the groundwork with his searing portrayal of Billy McBride in Goliath. That role, equal parts haunted, sharp-witted, and emotionally weathered, proved something vital. Thornton could carry the weight of a broken man fighting uphill battles in morally gray systems. Sound familiar? It should. Goliath wasn't just a legal drama, it was a slow-burn descent into power structures that crush the vulnerable. In many ways, it was a rehearsal for what Landman demands. In Goliath, Thornton played a once powerful attorney navigating corruption with grit and resignation, embodying the kind of quiet fury Sheridan loves to write. That performance wasn't flashy, but it was unforgettable. It showcased his ability to command a room with a look, unravel a scene with a pause, and weaponize silence. Those very tools are now being sharpened further in Landman, where the stakes may be different, but the emotional terrain feels eerily familiar. If Goliath was the courtroom, Landman is the battlefield, and Thornton is bringing the same armor. What makes this connection more than coincidence is the shared DNA between both roles: systemic rot, morally compromised men, and the price of power. Billy McBride and his new Landman character might live in different universes, but they wrestle with the same ghosts. And while Goliath gave Thornton the space to explore those shadows, Landman gives him the frontier. This isn't just career progression, it's a thematic evolution, one that Sheridan clearly recognized, and audiences are now ready to watch ignite. Why Thornton said yes to Landman, but said no to other big projects. Billy Bob Thornton doesn't say yes easily. In an industry overflowing with offers and scripts desperate for star power, he's become known for his deliberate, almost defiant selectivity. So when he signed on for Landman, people took notice. Why this project? Why now? The answer lies in Thornton's finely tuned instinct for authenticity and Taylor Sheridan's rare ability to deliver it. While other offers may have come with bigger paychecks or splashier studio backing, Landman had something far more compelling: grit, truth, and the kind of storytelling Thornton can actually believe in. Unlike many of his peers who chase spectacle, Thornton has always been about substance. He's walked away from blockbuster roles simply because they didn't speak to him, even if they promised fame or fortune. What Sheridan brought to the table wasn't just a character, it was a world grounded in realism, moral ambiguity, and deep-rooted Americana. That kind of material doesn't come around often, and when it does, it's usually diluted by network notes or studio interference. But with Sheridan, Thornton knew the vision would remain pure, and that made all the difference. There's also a mutual respect at play. Thornton doesn't need to be sold on a role with glitz. He wants texture, tension, and truth. And Sheridan, famously anti-Hollywood in his own right, gives his actors just that. In many ways, Landman was less of a career move and more of a creative calling. Thornton didn't just say yes, he chose this over louder, flashier, safer roles. Because Landman, in all its dusty, dangerous honesty, was the kind of challenge that reminded him why he became an actor in the first place. Thornton's entrance into the Landman universe isn't just a casting win, it's a seismic signal. It tells us that this series isn't playing by the rules, and neither is its leading man. In a landscape overflowing with reboots, sequels, and shallow prestige projects, Landman offered something rare: depth, danger, and direction. Thornton didn't choose this role by accident, he chose it because it meant something and because Sheridan is one of the only creators left who still builds stories worth saying yes to. The rest, Thornton already turned them down.